This tutorial will provide an in-depth explanation of the duties of a designated records officer. The responsibilities of a records officer are listed on the Records Officer Designation and Responsibilities RM25 form. Those who wish to become a designated records officer for their agency or department must mail the typewritten RM25 form to the Library of Virginia. This official designation is separate from any internal designation given by your department or office. It is the responsibility of a records officer to ensure that his or her agency, department, or office has a records management program in place. A successful records management program will include a policy and clearly written procedures. The policy and procedures should be documented internally, widely disseminated, and approved and supported by senior management. Each of the duties that follow is an essential part of a functioning records management program. Records officers are highly encouraged to read and disseminate as necessary the Virginia Public Records Management Manual, available on the library's website. The records officer should also closely monitor VAROL, the Virginia Records Officer Listserv, for information on training, procedural updates, and general schedule revisions. It is the responsibility of the records officer to pass along information from VAROL that is relevant to his or her agency. Proper use of the Library of Virginia approved records retention and disposition schedules is extremely important. It is the records officer's job to provide his or her fellow employees with the pertinent schedules along with instructions on how to use them and news of updates as they occur. Records officers for state agencies must also work with their assigned analyst at the Library of Virginia to develop and regularly review agency-specific retention schedules. The training of fellow coworkers is a key responsibility of the designated records officer. Using the policy and procedures along with the schedules, the records officer should design and implement regularly scheduled training for his or her colleagues. At a minimum, records management training should include instructions for use of the schedules, record storage and retrieval, and instructions for records destruction. If the agency reformats records, procedures for reformatting should also be included. Training should be given to all new employees and continuing education provided at least yearly to all staff. Records officers will also sign off on certificates of records destruction, or RM3 forms, and mail completed forms to the Library of Virginia. When records meet the end of their designated retention period, they must be destroyed. Destruction of public records must be documented using the RM3 form, which requires a signature of a designated records officer. It is the records officer's job to ensure that the RM3 form is filled out correctly before signing it. The records officer's signature must be obtained before the records are destroyed. Records officers should be aware of departments that are not submitting RM3 forms, as well as those who are only reporting the destruction of paper but not electronic records. It is the records officer's responsibility to follow up with these departments and educate them on the importance of the RM3 process for all types of records. Records officers are also responsible for identifying essential records and archival records within their agency or department. Essential records are those required by your agency to function or immediately reestablish operations in the event of a disaster. Examples of essential records may include tax receipts, current contracts, and payroll. Archival records are those with enduring administrative, fiscal, historical, or legal value. They are identified on the retention schedules as having a permanent retention and may be offered to the archives at the Library of Virginia. Records officers are also responsible for ensuring that their agency or department has a plan in place that will provide for the protection and recovery of records in the event of a disaster or other unplanned incident. The Library of Virginia provides access to an online tutorial on disaster planning called the Intergovernmental Preparedness for Essential Records, IPER. By the end of the course, the records officer will have the tools necessary to draft a disaster recovery plan. These are not responsibilities that a records officer can meet alone. It is the records officer's responsibility to educate senior management on these issues and secure their support and approval to involve other staff members. This concludes our tutorial on the responsibilities of a designated records officer. If you have questions about the requirements, please contact your assigned records analyst.